It's 1700 hours, and I'm going to call this Harbor Management Commission meeting to order. And I'd like to see if we have a quorum. I guess that by roll call.
Well, you have Mark Sacuso, myself, the mayor, Mike Gualtieri, Mike Aliano, John Salamone, and myself there. So I think we have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. Thank you very much. And as we are addressing some of these issues, if we could just say who we are, just so we can identify that person a little bit. It's pretty difficult for her to keep up. I'd like to say that we have, I think, Keith Nielsen from Mystic with us this evening, Jeff Stedman, who is our consultant.
Hang on, I'm letting them in the room right now.
Okay.
Jeff and
Keith Nielsen's from Darko and Mystic. He does the work on the Thames River. He seems to have a pretty good understanding of the river, and Jeff Stedman has been our consultant for
as long as I've been involved, and then well before that.
Even before that, probably.
Yes.
So if those two people will be here this evening. I'd like to have the approval of the minutes for March 23rd. You would have a chance to look at them, see if there are any corrections that have to be made, or any deletions that we should be aware of, or omissions. And if everybody is copacetic with that, then I'd like to have a motion to move the minutes forward.
So move, Mayor.
Second, Michael Aliano.
All those in favor, please designate by aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote, Tucker.
Yeah.
I'll call the roll.
Okay.
Mark Sacuso,
Yes.
Peter Nystrom,
Yes.
Mike Aliano,
Aye.
Mike Gualtieri,
Yes.
John Salamone,
Yes.
myself, yes. Tucker Braddock,
Yes.
all present and voting are yes.
All those in favor? We've already done that. Okay. For next item, we have community policing. Do we have anyone from the police department here that would like to issue any kind of report?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, we'll pass on that this time. I think we want to make sure that maybe John knows, is the police boat in, John?
This is Michael Aliano. It's not in.
It's not in. Okay, thank you.
Fire department boats in.
The paid fire boats in?
Yep, never left. Just moved to dock,
Okay.
but it'll be back shortly.
Great, okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Any correspondence? Do we have any correspondence that anyone has received that we should talk about? Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to move into the next area, which I've asked Michael to talk a little bit about the financial report, as he is duly qualified.
Yeah, does everybody have in front of them March 1st to March 31st?
I do not.
I do
I
not.
do not. I didn't get that with any of the attachments.
Nor did I.
No, all right, well, let me find out where that is tomorrow, but on there's nothing that I'm aware of other than the data line for the Harbor Cam, which is $75.40 per month. That would bring us to a year-to-date of $678.60, leaving us with a net income of $6,554.59. That would be the only activity, income or expense. And our restricted funds for the harbor plan, management plan would remain at $8,495.32. And our unrestricted available funds would be $10,625.69. That's net of the $75.40. And that would be the only activity. The only other thing is that we did get Jeff's invoice, which we're going to talk about in a second here. So that is it on the income statement for the month.
Michael, thank you. I don't think we have to move this with a vote. We have just received a statement from Mr. Stedman, who is, again, he is our consultant, and we do put a lot of faith in what he's doing. Do you have that number handy, Michael?
Yes, Jeff's invoice for November 1st, 2019, up until March 1st, 2021, is for a total of $4,012.50, of which $2,775 is attributed to the SHIP grant. In other Harbor Management Commission business is $1,237.50. And I looked it over and I sent it to Tucker and it looks appropriate.
And may I please have a motion to accept this invoice and to pay Mr. Stead as soon as possible?
Mark
Aliano.
Bettencourt moves.
Second, Michael Aliano.
Who was the first?
Everybody. Mark Bettencourt. Do that. I'll volunteer.
Okay. And let's do a roll call on this.
All right. From the top, that's the way I'm looking at him. Mark Sacuso.
Number one, baby. Yes.
Peter Nystrom.
Yes.
Mike Aliano.
Yes.
Michael Guattieri.
Yes,
John Salamone.
Yes.
Tucker Braddock.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous. All present voting,
And
vote in
thank-
Uh,
the affirmative.
yeah, and Tucker, I just want to add one thing to that. So far for the grant application, with the amount that we've approved tonight, we've expended $23,736.21, of which, when we applied for, that's reimbursable to the commission. So I
Would you
just have,
repeat,
I just
Michael?
have
Please repeat.
a pencil that's unaudited, but those are what I have to date.
All right. Would you please repeat that number?
Yeah, $23,736.21. The majority of that, well, it's two parts. The application with DACO's fees. We had that DACO cost overrun fee back in June, and Jeff's fees. That's the bulk of it.
Okay. And we all agree to those numbers?
So far.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and so we're going to get a check off to Mr. Stedman. The harbor, we're going to move along to the next item, which is a harbor map, is Mr. Therabout.
Doesn't appear to
Mr.
be.
Thera. Okay, then we will have to wait for the next month of reporting. The next item, which is going to be our number 7, which is new business. And the first one on the list would be the Thayer's proposal. And I think we have someone here. Mr. Nielsen, can you address that? Keith?
Okay, everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. The Keith Nielsen for Thayer's Marina. The plans that we've prepared are a 5-sheet set at this point that show the new property that Thayer has acquired on the the west branch of the Yantic River. He is the east shore of the west branch and right across the street from his current site. The site is relatively unimproved along the bank, I should say. It's got building and some graded area and so on. And what he wants to do is make showroom and storage space and more working space for himself. And the first thing that is first order of business is to repair and restore the existing shoreline stabilization rock work, which is in about the middle of the property, and then extend that to the south and to the north. And so the drawings that we've prepared show that. There's one overall existing plan on sheet 2. And
Keith, one question. Do you want to share that, or can you, or
I don't,
or is that not your technical expertise there?
it is not my technical expertise. I mean, I can show you drawings, but that's the
I
best
know
I
if you had electronic versions, you could put them up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm afraid, I thought that that these had been emailed up to you earlier in the day, and since they haven't, I'll just have to explain it. So at any rate, the total length of the property is going to be restored with in-water work down just below the coastal jurisdiction line, and it's going to be either concrete block, stone, or a combination of the two. It's work that is going to be different than the East Branch work where he drove steel sheet piling. And at any rate, it's a stretch of about 350 feet or so along the river. And he would like the work to begin this fall. We're going to be submitting application documents to the DEP. And so without the drawings, I know you can't do anything in terms of a motion or anything tonight, but you'll have the drawings for the next meeting, okay?
Okay. Will that increase the distance between the building and the actual water line itself?
Well, the new stone walls are going to be built about where the existing mean low water line is, maybe a little bit in front of it. But the main attribute here is that the walls will be almost vertical. They will be sloped slightly back toward the building, toward the shore, to improve and maximize the stability of the concrete blocks or the stone blocks that are being used. And it will provide a wider strip between the building and the top of bank, probably on the order of 10 to 15 feet. So that, and that will be necessary for the construction equipment to get down the side of the building.
Okay. I think a provision for some understanding of the fisheries should be put into this concept, because when Mr. Thayer did the vertical metal sheet bulkhead on the east branch, the west branch on the east, but the west side of the Yantic, the fisheries were pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah,
So
well, we will be meeting with fisheries here in the next week or two to make sure that they don't have any issues here, or that they are able to quantify their issues as much as possible. And so these drawings will go out to you as well as fisheries, and you'll be able to see them and be ready for the next meeting.
Okay, great. And you'll have drawings for us at the meeting?
Yes.
Mr. Nielsen? Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yep. I've got them now. Unfortunately, you didn't get them, so we'll just have to work that out next month.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding this straightening up of the Hollyhock Island a little bit.
Yeah, Tucker, Mike Gary. So this is basically just a dock is what it's for.
It's really bank stabilization. There won't be any docking facilities over here.
Oh, okay. I thought it was talking about floating docks.
I think you're talking about Weiss.
That's Weiss
And
project.
that'll be the next project.
Oh, that's Weiss's. Okay, my bad. Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Will there be any tie-ups to this structure?
At this point, all Richard has said is I want to stabilize the bank. I want to be able to protect the building that he's bought and the ground that he now owns to maximize his boat storage and display area.
That makes good sense.
I'll tell you, I do a lot of work around this state, and you're lucky to have someone who is as dynamic and growth oriented as Rick there.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with that myself. He's doing a great job down there.
Can I ask a question, Tucker? It's Jeff.
Yeah, please do.
Mr. Nielsen, how much space will there be between the water, between your new structure and the building? And I asked that, did you envision having a public walkway along the bank of the river?
At this point, I did not envision any kind of a public access way over there. I know that Rich is concerned with the security of the site, and this is not exactly a high visibility area.
Do you need planning and zoning approval for this, or is it just a deep permit?
As far as I know, at this point, it's just deep and Corps of Engineers.
And cool. Okay. Did that answer your question, Jeff?
I mean, they'll need to pull building permits, obviously, won't they?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not exactly sure how that works in the city. This work is all waterward of the coastal jurisdiction line and high tide line.
Well, you should just check, of course, with the land use, because you're changing the use of the site. I'm assuming that requires some sort of land use approval.
I will be checking that with Deanna Rhodes.
Yep.
That'll take care of it.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions on this, please?
Tucker, it's Michael Aliano. The only thing I'd say is it's unfortunately we don't have the documents tonight, because I think it'd be simple enough to approve.
I think you're right. I'm
And
sorry.
this is the second time in a row that we've had this problem.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to take the responsibility for that. I just I thought that these documents had been sent to you. So
You don't, Keith, do you have them as PDFs right now or something, or?
Can you email them out to us? Because
Yeah, if you send them to me right now, I mean, I can put them up. So
what's your email?
just send it to my city one, mbettencourt@cityofnorwich.org. And I'll, if you send that to me right now, I will, hopefully it'll come in 2 minutes, and I'll put them up. Let me make sure I'm in on that account.
Okay, let me see what I can do. I'm going to scan them right now, and so.
All right, I mean, we can go on to the next thing and come back to this, Tucker, if that's okay.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine.
Go ahead and get that to me, and I'll let everybody know when it's here.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Can you send me an email right now at office@daco.com so I get this
Sure.
email exactly?
You know what, it might be easier if I send it to you from my other account, because that's where I sent the invite to you from.
Okay. To office@daco.com.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna scan them right now. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, so that's a long time. Keith,
What's that?
will it take a long while?
No,
or-
I'm not sure. Our regular crew has gone home, and I'm gonna stay in here, so I'm gonna ask Candy to take care of this.
Okay, let's move on to the next piece of new business, and we back to this as soon as we have them loaded and displayed. And the next piece of business is called rowing shells. And we have some rowing shells in Mohegan Park. We've had them there for a number of years. We have a trailer, and we have a truck to tow the trailer around. And it just seems to me that if we can get them down on Hollyhock Island, and I have been talking with Mr. Thayer about this, if we can get them down with an agreement through Norwich Free Academy, there's a great opportunity for Title IX students to enhance their rowing abilities. There's a new rowing club in Stonington on the east side of the Mystic River. And there's a new one down in Lyme. It just seems like it's an opportunity that if we can get these shells, and this is mostly a conversation at this point, because there are two players that have to work well together. And Norwich Free Academy, and I know that Norwich Free Academy is going through some little financial difficulty. They're cutting back on some things, and I have spread the word to my connection with Norwich Free Academy to see if we can and have a conversation with some people who want to take charge of this, and also the people who may want to participate in it, the youngsters. It seems like we're constantly taking things away from kids, and I think we should back to kids. And this is one way that we may be able to do it. The shells themselves have been outside for many years. Connecticut College has sent someone up to look at them, and they're good. They'll have to be re-waxed and refitted, but we do have all of the strapping there, and it has to have someone with knowledge to do it. And so we can get these things, and they're in good shape, basically. And any comments?
Tucker, it's Michael Aliano. I think it's a no-brainer. Just in your conversation with NFA or whoever's going to use the shells,
Yeah.
you need to encourage them to stay out of the channel. It'd be in everyone's best interest.
Sure, absolutely. And we also have, we've experienced something in the past with dragon boats, and it's sometimes is pretty stiff current coming off of the Shetucket River. But there was rowing here in the past until it goes back to about 1850. There is a lot of history there, but not a whole lot of support, both physical support and monetary support. And I think those things, this is just a discussion that I like to have. I hate to see, I'm kind of discouraged at seeing the shells sitting there doing nothing when young people can be utilizing them to betterment the ability to get in some of these Ivy League colleges. And the COVID is not helping us either. There have been some programs that have been, I think I'm not sure if they ran the regatta down in front of Connecticut College last year or not. But if we could have this conversation and kind of bring it back to life a little bit. I did reach out to Bob Reed, and he's getting some information. I reached out to John Iabino at the Norwich Free Academy, and he's getting some information. What it would take is someone who understand and someone who could teach the skill of rowing. And also there is a building that could be available on the East Branch. It's 60 feet long and the shells are 50 feet long. So they could fit in theory in that building. And maybe this is just something to think about in the future, but I want to just bring it up and see if we could do something with it. I see $400,000 worth of shells not doing anything. $400,000 worth of shells and truck and trailer, all shells. Any questions? Do you think it's a worthwhile thing to pursue?
I think so.
Any-
We've been trying to get an application for those shells since I've been here for 6 years. So, and we almost sold them, which I'm glad we didn't do. We actually were prevented from selling them because they came through from a grant. But I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them used. And most interested parties have said they're in good shape. Just need some TLC.
Right. Yeah, I picked up on that also, John. So it may not happen right away, but maybe if we can get this thing going, so we're talking about it from meeting to meeting until we find some leadership there and a monetary commitment and a place to house them, then let's see if we can keep that conversation going.
All right, Tucker, I have the plans up,
Good.
and I've emailed them to everybody also.
Okay. I'm not on the screen, but does everybody have an opportunity to look at them?
Well,
Yes.
they can see them now.
Let me
Okay.
just, if I might, I'll just go through them and explain
Yep.
what each sheet is. You're looking at sheet 1 right now, which is the location map in the upper right-hand corner, project description and relevant information in the right-hand column. And then a bird's eye view of Hollyhock Island and the road interchanges of downtown Norwich. It's just a location plan to get you situated and show you where the site is, which is on the lower left edge of the shaded area in the middle. If we could go to sheet 2. There you go. This is an existing conditions plan of the overall site and shows the dark area along the east side of the east edge of the Yantic River, East Shore. And that is the area where the project is going to occur. You'll see about 2/3 of the way up the project, there is an old stone wall in the river. And that will be the basis for part of this project. We'll build a new wall north of it, a new wall south of it, but in that area where the existing wall is still maintainable, that will be revived, restored. Sheet 3 shows in closer detail the area where the new wall will be built, tying in at the north property line and showing in different lengths the straight segments of the wall down through the existing wall proper. Now, we have 2 sheet 3s in here. One shows if we can restore the wall. If we cannot restore the wall, we will build behind it. The second sheet 3 shows, anticipating that we can restore the existing wall, what the alignment will be, making use of the existing stone and supplementing that as necessary. And the DEP should not have any problem with this because it is an existing wall. It is serviceable at this time. Sheet 4 then goes on to show the continuation of that stone or block wall all the way down to the south end of the property, which is just up to, but not beneath the west side bridge of the overpass. And sheet 5 shows what we anticipate, how we anticipate building up from the existing riverbed and building out from the building, total of about 15 feet, so that we can make sure that the excavator can get behind the building and work his way to the south from the midfield and work his way north as well from the existing wall. So it's a fairly straightforward project. There is encroachment into the east, into the Yantic River, but
Is there going to be an objection because of that?
there's no telling. I don't know of anybody in the city who would object to it. The DEP can object on an encroachment basis, but we feel that based on the fact that we have to build this thing from the land, we need a platform to build it from. And there is, on the other side of the river, or the other side of Hollyhock Island, we had an area that was fairly well influenced by the sun and had the ability to grow vegetation along the shoreline. We don't really have that here. This area is so heavily shaded, and it doesn't, there's no vegetation other than meadow vegetation at the top of the bank, and there's no real habitat for fisheries like there was on the other side. At least I'm not anticipating that we're going to have the same kind of issues. And but we'll just have to cope with that through the permitting process. From a standpoint of your harbor management plan, there is no significant adverse encroachment. There's no limit to navigation in the river. There certainly may be new advantages to the increased shoreline, but that has to be worked out with Rich. I don't know the details of how all of this will be used.
All right, this is just a, all right, Jeff's got his hand up, Tucker. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Edmund wants to, please. Jeff, you want to comment?
Yeah, the wall, Keith, it's in the water. So the high water goes behind that, right? So you're in effect filling land that's waterward of the mean high water line, or the
Yes.
coastal jurisdiction line. So that's obviously something that DEEP is going to have an issue with, and they're going to probably require some sort of mitigation if you're going to do that. I don't think there's any question that DEEP will have an issue with that, because you're filling land that's waterward of the coastal jurisdiction line and the mean high water line.
Yep, I would not disagree with that.
The issue with the state pier in New London with the filling of underwater lands, that's of course 7 acres, but it's the same principle. If you're essentially creating additional private land from the public trust area, even though it's not much. I think it really just requires a pre-application conference with DEEP to see what it is that they will consider here before you go through the expense of the whole permit application. That's just my opinion.
Well, I have gone through some initial discussions with the DEP, and I appreciate your thoughts, but this does not feel to me like it's inconsistent with the harbor management plan, as I have read your plan.
Well, the plan discourages filling of underwater lands and also bulkheading out more than. So it's something that we have policies, and we can look at this on a case-by-case basis. And I'm not trying to influence anybody, but it's clearly something that DEEP, based on other experience in other towns, they're going to have some concerns about it.
Yep. Well, it is a high priority water dependent use, and we're all of the development is in support of that high priority water dependent use for land that is currently not being used for anything.
Right, and that's your argument to pursue with DEEP with the permit.
Yep.
I got a question regarding this. Could they possibly ask you to do the work in a different manner, like off a barge?
Well, they could, but barge access up here is practically impossible.
Yeah, that's true.
And so
Very shallow.
it could be built. We feel that the least impact way to build it is from the land, and so we've made the provisions to do that in the schematic details that we've got in the plan right now.
Okay.
And if we were to build it from the water side, we'd have to have some kind of a in-water platform to work from, and I don't feel like I would want to try and recommend that because of the water flow and circulation issues and stuff. I think what we've got shown.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not, I'm supportive of your concept. So it's not, but I certainly want to recognize that there may be some pitfalls going in.
Yep, we
I
are.
have a question too, Mike Galtieri, is probably for Jeff. So, Jeff, is this similar to displacement, what Thayer went through on the other side?
It may be, Mike. I don't know enough about that project there. They're concerned about extension or encroachment into the public trust area, into the
Right.
reducing that water area. I don't know what he had to deal with on the east side, but I know there was a recent proposal in Stamford where in a much bigger project, but the applicant proposed there was riprap on the shoreline. So the applicant proposed putting a vertical bulkhead at the toe of the riprap and then filling in behind that, which would in effect would create more developable land. And one of the compromises after a long discussion was that the developer had to put a public access walkway on the area that was extended out into the state's jurisdiction.
Richie went through quite a bit for his bulkhead. He had to provide, I don't know, I think it was like $5,000 on some project down.
Yes.
Right.
That's the mitigation, Mike. The mitigation for the impacts in the public trust area.
Right.
Yep,
Well,
we were the ones who planted all that tidal wetland vegetation across the river there.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so, gosh, I hope you don't have to go through that.
Yeah, me too.
But that's why I just suggested, and Keith, you said you've talked with Deep about this preliminarily. What did they indicate was about this?
Well, the actual first part of the discussion was whether or not we could approach the intermediate stone wall as a certificate of permission. And they said, if we can prove that it is serviceable, yes, we could. And I said, the rest of it, we're going to have to provide an access way to build this from the land because we cannot easily get there from the water without filling in part of the river. And they acknowledged that. And so it was not really a lot different than any of the other projects that we start, like Weiss's, where we did the bulkheading down there along the turning basin. And so it's, I did not see or hear any warning flags or warning alarms or anything like that from the DEP. It was a pretty factual discussion.
My little opinion, for what it's worth, I find that very, very surprising based on how they responded to similar things in other towns. But
All right.
that's what it is.
If I may, I think we are getting a little off track here, and our main concern here is whether it's consistent with our plan.
Yeah,
So
I
got to stick to
it's
that.
going to have a commission plan. I'm going to read that. And no matter what the project may be, if it's on the river or near the water, there's going to be some bumps and hurdles you have to get over and through, and rightfully so. But I think that, are there any other questions? Any other comments?
I would ask, do we want to make a finding at this point?
Yes, Michael Aliano.
Do we want to make a
A finding that it's consistent with the plan.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Will somebody make a motion?
Could I just make a comment, Mark, and then I'll keep quiet? This is a pre-application, would be a pre-application, so it would be the same process as with the South Thames Street project. So the applicant has to submit the pre-application consultation form. And it would just be my suggestion that if you have no issues with this going forward, that you simply say that, as you did with the one on South Thames Street, that you have no objection to it moving forward to a permit application and reserve the right to continue to review it during the regulatory process, rather than say it's consistent with the harbor management plan, because you don't know what's going to come up during that regulatory process. But if you say that, then at least they can go ahead with the submittal of the application.
It's a valid point, I think.
This is
So
Michael
moved.
Aliano. This is Michael Aliano. I propose a motion that we approve this to move forward.
We allow it, we don't object to it to move forward, I think.
There you go.
That's the, yeah. But we don't object to it moving forward.
I'll second, Mayor.
Okay, and what this is a motion to move forward for a,
It's a motion not to object to it moving forward.
all right, that's good. So we have a first and a second. We better do roll call on this.
I've just asked if there's any other discussion, I guess, but I don't see any. All right, roll call. Mayor Nystrom.
Yes.
Me, yes. Michael Aliano.
Yes, Michael Aliano.
Michael Gualtieri.
Yes.
Mark Sacuso. You hit the
Yes.
space bar too. Mo. Give him
Yes.
that. John Salamone.
Yes,
Tucker Braddock.
Yes,
It's unanimous, all present voting in the affirmative.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing us the information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff, for the suggestion.
So we're down now to, let's see,
Yes.
we're still in old business here. And we're going to move down to discuss Thayer's proposal. We're going to wing shells. The next thing we're going, under old business, we have a Weiss and Thames River proposal that that we have agreed that it move forward. Do we have any questions? On a pre-application basis, I do believe.
Have we gotten anything? Is there any more information to consider? Not that
If
I've
I
heard.
can just offer something on this. The last time we
Please.
had some discussions, the question was raised about utilities and provisions for utilities. And Mel Weiss asked if we could add water and electric conduits or conduits under the railroad tracks, and perhaps a fuel conduit under the railroad tracks. And we've done that now. And so those details all have to be worked out with Deanna Roads and with the railroad and so on, but they are shown on the drawing. And so we'd like to have your determination of consistency for this project so that we can move forward to the DEP.
Was there any consideration for putting a facility, a toilet facility? That was a part of the conversation last time.
Yes, the Mel has indicated that he would be agreeable to putting a building, amenities building on the west side of the tracks, up toward the north end of the site. So it would have restrooms as well as showers and such. And so we'll be working out those details with Deanna.
Okay. Other questions? Jeff, do you have any questions?
Oh, but the commission already, last month or the month before, had
Last
no
month.
objection to it moving forward. So I don't know that there's anything for the commission to do now, unless there's a separate application being presented to the commission.
I think when we submitted the application the last month, we asked that it be every addition be considered on the initial application. So if there was something that the chief wanted, they would come back and tell us. I think that's how we submitted that application.
Well, again, it's not up to me. It just seems confusing that the commission had no objection to an application being submitted and asked that and to continue to review it and provide any additional comments. So if we're learning about something added to the application, then we can make a reference to that, I guess, but don't have any plans or see anything.
Certainly, there's nothing negative to consider, I would think. So
No,
shouldn't be any change in the status, I would think.
I don't think any change from what we previously discussed.
I don't
Very
think so.
good. I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so leases, okay. The next on B out of old business number 8, the SHIP grant. We did receive $540,000 from the Port Authority through the SHIP grant program under the state, and we haven't received the money yet, but we have received the okay. It's been in the newspaper, and the idea is we did some engineering of it. Doctor did the engineering of it, and we did some pricing out of what these docks would run. So we have some idea of what we'd be looking for from the Port Authority. Jeff, this is a question for Jeff. Jeff?
Yes.
You made a comment of the SHIP grant is going to be sliced off of, taken away from the Port Authority. Is that?
No,
So
no,
I've briefed
I don't.
twice already.
No, the bond commission approved, I don't know if it was not the previous Friday, the Friday before that, I guess. And the bond commission approved the funding for this project along with a number of other projects, including a substantial amount of money for the state pier, but also several other the small harbor improvement program projects, such as the project for Brown Park. There was a grant to Stanford and there were some other towns too that received monies. But what's happening now, so that the bond commission acted on those to approve those funds. But what the Port Authority is doing now is changing their policies or their procedures for providing the funds. And rather than providing the funds up front, as they did previously, it's going to be on a reimbursable basis of some sort. In other words, the town has to spend money and then submit invoices as to the Port Authority. So that's a change in the way the money will be provided. And so right now, the Port Authority, and I spoke with Mr. Salvatore about this, is that they have to publish that change of their procedure for providing the funds in some sort of legal notice. I forget the actual note, what it's called. And then there will be a 30-day comment period for that. So they're doing that now. And then at the June meeting, the Port Authority will vote to approve this new process for dispersing the funds. And in the meantime, Joe Salvatore is working on the grant agreements with the several municipalities, which would have to be, I don't know, it would be the council would have to act on this. And I shouldn't talk because I don't know. But so he's working on the agreement. So the money isn't about to be sent in the mail to the city. There needs to be some preparations made as to starting, getting the work according to a contract. And but it's just not an easy thing. They're just not going to send a check this time. There's going to be some procedures to follow that are different.
Jeff, Mike Gualtieri, this smells to me like a construction mortgage when you're completing a home or a building, which requires inspections. Have you heard anything in that regard?
No, I haven't heard that, Mike, because the problem, the problems that the Port Authority had about accountability, or if you call them alleged problems, so that they were not able for this round of SHIP grants to just send a check with the money. There has to be some accounting, and I think the way they were saying it is that the city has to put up some money up front to have the work started. And then as the contractor submits invoices, you'd submit invoices to the Port Authority, and then they would pay the money to the city. But that's still.
This is essentially a construction mortgage. Tucker, as we go through this process, it's probably best to take pictures, digital pictures of the improvement, insignificant steps. You do this step, take a picture, next step. So have supporting documents, because I don't see why they would just do it with paper. It's not making sense to me, but just an FYI.
This is John. This is not uncommon. There are certain grants that are what they call progress grants that this falls under, and it's a fairly routine. So the city handles these kind of grants frequently. So I don't. Once we get the controller involved, it'll be pretty straightforward. We'll have to advance money, so we may have to appropriate money and then reimburse itself. But
so
as I said, go ahead.
No inspections, John?
No.
Okay.
And sorry to keep talking, but I just looked at my notes. The revised procedures of the Port Authority for doing this are to be published in the Connecticut Law Journal for, I don't know what that is, for a period of 30 days. And then when that's finished, the Port Authority will adopt these new procedures for sending out the money.
Oh, I'd like to add to that, Jeff. They said that it was a 80-20 split, and we've already committed that money to this project. So we have done that. We have paid bills. I'm a little bit annoyed that that's how it's turning out. It's like lack of trust here.
Well, Tucker, it's not uncommon though. Not the lack of trust, but the procedures are done at DOT all the time. So, so we're prepared to do that.
I'm very happy we got this opportunity. I know that Kathy Austin was very supportive of it up in the Capitol, and I know that Salvatore would pester him probably every and give Jeff back either. So I'm very happy we did get this opportunity, and I think that it'll be an improvement from what we have there now. It'll be new docks. It'll be there for 25, 30 years, and with safety rails. It'll be handicapped accessible, and so I think the question, and I have had a brief conversation with Michael Aliano about this. I think the question we should ask ourselves: I don't think we want to disturb any commerce right now. Commerce is very delicate right now, but do we want to try to do this at the end of this year, 2021? Or do we want to do it in the beginning of 2022 and not sacrifice that winter wear? I think that's the question that we should be looking at.
Tucker, this is Michael Aliano. I highly doubt we're going to get docs by fall of 2021. And it doesn't make any sense to me to leave put brand new docks in right before ice season where that's the most harmful to the
Sure.
docks. I'd get one more winter out of them, or take them out this winter, get some of the work done, take these out and put the new ones in the spring.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
That's a sound policy. We should follow it.
Mayor, I think you're right. We'll have some docks left over at the end of this whole thing, and I've reached out to some people who maybe could use these docks. And so that would not be an expensive city at this point in time.
Excuse me, Tucker?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the mayor. I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
You talk about reuse of some of these sections of the docks as they come out. I mean,
Right.
I have to be careful in what I phrase, but there are some docks across the channel that are sunk or are sinking, and could they be replaced with these, and which are in better condition for the safety of the public who walks on them?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know if those docks will be compatible to their mooring situation, but that is a very good question.
Mr. Mayor, Michael Aliano, are you referring to America Wharf for the docks?
I'm
Yes.
specifically looking at the East Channel, where I happen to know last year there was vegetation growing out of one section of a dock that was underwater. It's a small section, but nonetheless, I don't think the public should be on that.
Private
Yeah,
property, you could pay for them.
I don't believe those docks are interchangeable at that point. The sizes and I don't even believe they're the same manufacturer, so I don't think it would be interchangeable.
Okay, I just thought it was worth asking.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. And we can measure it and see if we can alleviate that problem without having to pay for the removal of those docks out of the water. That's fine. Anyway, good question. So all of the documents and the measurements have been turned over to the purchasing agent, and he is, from my understanding, going out for an RFP, and that will take a while. I think probably 60 days. I don't foresee even any docks there before the end of the year, just because docks all of a sudden have become great demand. Okay, and we're not repairing the docks. We are totally replacing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Same pylons, Tucker?
Sure.
We're using the
Same
same
pylon.
pylons over, correct?
Yeah, same pylon. Yeah, we had to stay very close to what was there. Otherwise, we'd be doing, you'd be asking Deep and other agencies for permission.
Yeah.
And I think Keith Nielsen guided us through that quite well, so that we would not be asking for Deep permission to do this. We're just putting them where the pylons are. We're just taking those docks out and putting in. The only change there is an 80-foot ramp that's going to go from the shore down to the midpoint of the docks, so it would become ADA compliant. And I believe that there's a railing that will be on the back of the dock, so if someone does topple into the water, there'll be some access to get the person out. Those are the only changes, but they're not really affecting the river at all.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Tucker,
Comment?
do you mind, Tucker, it's Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead.
Last month, we talked about the possibility of some of the COVID relief funds being used for enhancement of outdoor recreation facilities. And
We
John
did.
said he didn't know what the guidelines would be, but is there any possibility of applying for some of those funds for additional enhancements at Brown Park? that would go along with the new docks?
The guidelines are not out yet.
We
We're
won't
still
have
waiting
them,
from the Treasury office.
yeah, they won't be out till approximately May 11th, give or take, the federal bureaucracy. So it's supposed to be out by the 11th. I won't hold my breath. But until then, we won't have, we don't have detailed orders from the Treasury Department, which are the ones that are promulgating the regulations.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other comments? Jeff, that's something certainly to think about if the opportunity does arise that we can use the money for enhancements down at Howard Brown Park. That has become a very valuable park. There are a lot of people that use it now, and from our community as well as other communities. Going on to C under 8. This is, and I'm going to let Jeff run with this a little bit because it's something that happened down in his area of the world. It's a case where Susan Cohen versus the state of Connecticut, and I'm going to summarize it a little bit. It seems like the judge, in making his ruling, decided that maybe we should, the harbor commissions should not be making recommendations too deep. And the board of the Connecticut Harbor Management Association has met, and they've had several meetings, and I think Jeff is writing a paper on it to say that they are important. My feeling is that the sociability of where we are in Norwich, Connecticut, is so different than what is going on in Greenwich, Connecticut. And I think that the input that we have as a harbor commission is so different and so important to us and not so important to Greenwich or Norwalk. So I think that it's important that we stand in a position where we would like to still have the ability to make recommendations too deep. And I think from the standpoint of the feedback I've heard so far is that Deep has said just carry on like business is normal, but if business is not normal, it's changed with that judge's decision. And I think that there may be an appeal in progress. And we did discuss that, I think, at one of the last meetings where there was an appeal and we were not going to talk a lot about it. But Jeff, do you have anything new on that?
Well, I'll try. I don't think that the location that it took place in Greenwich is really, I mean, I know it's a concern to some people because, you know, Greenwich is sort of another, you know, much different than other towns, but it's not that Greenwich is involved. It's the impact of the judge's decision about concerning a matter that originated in Greenwich. And I think, Michael, you said like a couple of months ago, you know, we needed to have more information on this. So as Tucker said, you know, and as other people say, sometimes out of trivial matters, important principles are established or started. So the judge's decision was that a harbor management commission, whether it's Greenwich or Norwich or any harbor management commission, does not have authority to make recommendations to DEEP, only has authority to make recommendations to planning and zoning departments. Now, DEEP has said that, oh, don't worry, we'll still listen to your recommendations, but that's different than, you know, there being an established authority to do it when you're just sort of functioning at the pleasure of DEEP. So the Superior Court judge's decision. Oh,
Sorry.
The Superior Court decision is being appealed both by the plaintiff, or what I guess it's the plaintiff, but also the town of Greenwich has joined the appeal. Again, the dock issue isn't the important thing; it's the judge's decision. So other towns have have approved moving forward with new legislation, clarifying legislation. I shouldn't say new legislation, but clarifications to the Harbor Management Act to make clear the long-established policy that harbor commissions have authority to review deep permit decisions. Now, the good example tonight that we were talking about Mr. Nielsen's proposal for a deep permit decision. I mean, it's not maybe that significant, that one, but other actions that deep might take that require that with respect to permits could have significant impacts on Norwich Harbor. So the feeling among the commissions that we've talked to already is that there's agreement to pursue a legislative clarification about the authorities of the harbor management commissions. Now, we talked to some legislators in other towns who said it's too late to think about doing anything this year, which of course we knew, which the proposed bills had to be submitted in January. So we're trying to work towards a legislative clarification for the next legislative session, which is next year. An issue, of course, is that this sort of legislation would have to go through the Environment Committee, and DEEP has an important role on the legislation in the legislature's Environment Committee. So one of the legislators we talked with said that we had provided the 5 or 6 page summary of this issue that I think you've all seen. But she said, do it in 1 page because nobody's going to read 5 or 6 pages. So that's what we're trying to do now. But so that's the issue. And you know, absent if that court decision was to stand, you know, the commission would have no authority on anything having to do with deep permits.
Right.
I'm sorry to ramble on about it, but we've been working on it. We've been contacting legislators. And again, the town of Greenwich is proceeding with an appeal.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. Any questions on this? I don't know if everyone's had an opportunity to read it. It's a government read. It's fun.
But might it be, if not this meeting, next meeting, to consider a motion, as other harbor commissions have, to encourage and support, and I don't know if this is the right words, encourage and support the legislative clarifications needed to confirm and the longstanding authority of harbor management commissions to review and make recommendations concerning deep decisions affecting their DEEP decisions affecting their harbors. That's what we're trying to get something like that from all of the harbor commissions prior to proceeding with the legislative clarification.
I think that if we had a motion this evening on that, at least we'd have a start, and I'd like to see that addressed with a motion from this committee this evening, that we start doing that and letting the DEEP know that we are still a harbor commission in Norwich, Connecticut. We kind of stand out because we're the harbor commission up in this area, but
Tucker, this is Michael Aliano. I propose a motion, specifically what Mr. Stedman had stated, that exact verbiage.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay. Roll call, please.
All right, hang on. So, Mike Aliano,
Yes.
myself is yes. Mike Gualtieri,
Yes,
Peter Nystrom,
Yes,
John Salamone,
He's muted.
John,
Yes,
yes. Tucker Braddock,
Yes.
Mark Sacuso had to step out, so it's unanimous, all present and voting approve.
Thank you. All right, so we'll draft a letter, get this off to the Board of Directors of Connecticut Harbor
Yes,
Commission Association.
thank you.
Okay, good suggestion, Jeff. Thank you.
Tucker, this is Michael Aliano. I only have 5 minutes left to take off.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, Michael, thank you. I looked at my watch as well, and I hate to go over an hour in the harbor management plan draft, chapters 1 through 7. If we could, between now and the next meeting in June, focus on those chapters so we can get these things submitted to DEEP and try to get a commitment from DEEP, and then come back to our council and get them ratified on a city basis. If you want to pair up with a couple of people to talk about these chapters, that's good, all well and good. And we'll try to get them all lined out in the next 30-day period of time. Okay?
Yep.
Any comment? Do we have any citizens who want to comment?
I might just add before Michael leaves, I think your dad would be proud of us, Mike, for pursuing this issue with DEEP. He established the Harbor Management Association many years ago, just for these sorts of purposes, to uphold municipal authority relative to the state authority.
Thank you, Jeff. Citizen comment, hearing none. Anything other than those citizen comment? Any other?
Yeah, I just have a
go ahead.
question, Mike Gualtieri.
Please.
Has anybody seen any ospreys circling around down there?
I have not seen any.
Nice. Okay.
The other thing, let me just address that real quickly. When Kyle Hurd made the osprey nest over by the police station, he made 2. And the recommendation from the Wildlife Association was to put it in the mudflats. And we do have it. It's being stored at this point down under the bridge on Hollyhock Island. And the next opportunity I have with someone else, we'll try to get that osprey set up in the mudflats, which is, I think, more conducive. It's better landing, better takeoffs for the osprey, and less inhabited. So I will attend to that between now and the end of June. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mark Betancourt.
Second, Michael Aliano.
Motion to adjourn is on the table. Roll call vote. Michael Aliano.
Aye.
Mark Betancourt is aye. Mike Gualtieri.
Aye.
Mayor Peter Nystrom.
Yes.
John Salamone.
Yes.
Tucker Braddock.
Yes.
It's unanimous, all present and voting in the affirmative.
Have a good night, everyone.
You stand adjourned.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your comments, everyone.
Thank you.